Okay, I'm here after watching Ross's video of the KC Workhouse, trying to find these fossils. I'm going to choose not to use the word alleged because it's completely self-evident that they're fossils and shells. And I got all my receipts here to show this and to help bring some clarity. So I'm just going to do more show and probably a little bit of talking. We just see how it goes. So what I usually see in these pieces of this material are these fossils. They're not alleged. That's what they are. It seems like the choice of wording itself is setting up the trap. Subconsciously. But these are fossils. And I'll show you the fossils. They're not just little random pieces of rock or other weird little anomalies. Why I say this? Because I actually have complete pieces of these fossils. What you see right here, this little piece right here you see, is basically a bigger piece of this. And it's a fossil. I have other little pieces of this stuff that I have found over the years. So here are some of these fossils. And they match up with the stuff that's right down in here. But these pieces are not in the material anymore. Apologies for my phone having its issues as usual. But yeah, here's this fossil. Of course, my phone never wants to focus when I need it to. So maybe if I set it down, that will help. Probably not. So the constant use of the word alleged doesn't really set or jive with me. Set well and or jive with me, because I have my evidence, clear evidence of these are fossils. It's not this alleged game. I'm really going to be nice about this, but at the same time show my evidence and my receipts. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and just put all these little fossils I have accumulated up here. Just so I don't have to sit here and waste a bunch of time showing them individually. I'm just going to put this piece right here. And this is speckled in here. And as I have to keep repeating, because apparently, I guess no one's watching my videos, so they're missing a lot of the context of what I'm saying, and basically just by consequence are hearing what they want to hear and seeing what they want to see. But no, not all limestone is equal. There's fossil ferrous limestone, which this is a piece of. It has lots of marine biology in it. Some has minimal, some has none. And or just really hard to find. I can't say none because that's kind of a foolish thing to say, but all limestone is different. It's not one for one. It's not all the same. And I've said this countless times in my videos now, but apparently people keep coming off in the sense that they don't understand the context of what I'm saying when I keep talking about this limestone. But I guess I have to start directing it appropriately. This is fossil ferrous limestone. It has lots of the marine biology in it. And I found this in the creek, here in Rock Creek. And I found these pieces. I only have this piece here because it is showing that little, whatever the hell that marine biology is. It's escaping me. It's escaping me what it's called. I'm not claiming to be an expert or an expert on this, but I have the evidence and it's self-evident. But these little things are in here. And they're fossils. They're not just rocks or weird pebbles or anything of that nature. And in fact, 1 second, I'm going to get a bigger piece, which I think might be the same thing as this, as these down here. Okie dokie. I am back. I have this other big one here. It's red. I actually bought this one from a pawn shop, and they're selling it as a petrified It was being sold as a petrified snake, but I don't think that's what it is. Looks like some form of marine biology or something. I don't know, but it definitely matches up with these. It's just a bigger piece. So there's these pieces, which you will see a lot of these in the fossil ferrous limestone and other pieces of limestone to varying degrees. I cannot stress this enough. Varying degrees. It's not all the same. So just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not the case. I promise. Let's just go on ahead and show some of the big shells I have found real quick. Here's a big shell sticking out of the material. I can't speak for what material this is, but there is a big shell sticking out of it. And it's not alleged stone. It is actually stone. I really wish people would work on the wording of this. It just... No, it's just whatever. But this is a fossilized shell inside of a stone. There's nothing alleged about it. It is a stone. And there's a fossil sticking in it. Or out of this piece that broke and exposed the fossilized shell. Not entirely sure how people can miss these and say this could just be an alleged stone or other anomaly, but I know what a shell looks like and I know what rock looks like in a nutshell, because I don't know exactly what rock this is and I don't know exactly what kind of shell this is, but I know what they are. So, you know, you don't have to be a firefighter to know what a fire is, alright? It's as simple as that. I'll say that again. You don't have to be a firefighter to know what a fire is. It's really that simple. So there's this big shell. Let's go and put it up over here. Let's get this shell over here. And no, it's not just some weird anomalous rock. It's a shell. I've been doing this for about roughly 15 years. I know what a shell is. I know what a rock is. But you don't have a PhD in this stuff. Neither do you. I don't have to have a PhD to know what this is. All that shit's a bunch of nonsense anyway. But there's a shell. It's pretty beat up. But you can clearly see it's a shell. So there's that one. Here's yet another shell sticking out. Now I can say this is more than likely limestone. And here's this one. And this is the stuff I've been pointing out in most of these structures I've been finding. I have been finding complete shells like this sticking out of the exposed, quarried material. Because when they quarry them and split them, these shells will expose themselves. Like this piece was actually on a bigger rock. I think I broke it. And this shell fell out. That's why this part's dirty and mineralized and discolored. But this part's clean. This is one I found breaking rocks. Because you'll notice this part here is nice and clean. Because it's not been exposed to the environment. But this part here is dirty because it was exposed to the environment. But when I was breaking rocks, I found this pretty shell in there. So yes, I do have my receipts. And here's one I just found in the creek. It's weathered and dirtied for being in the creek. As you can see, it's discolored. Okay, you stop moving, that'd be nice. But you see there's a shell sticking out of this rock. And it's clearly been weathered for sitting in the creek. So it's discolored. But that is a shell. I promise. But I'm going to go to the workhouse and I'm going to pick that place apart, finding all the shells. because I did notice quite a few in his video he glanced over. So I'm gonna go back and recover a lot of what he did, and then cover more stuff for myself. I'm not saying it to be mean or come off like, you know, like that, so please don't take it that way. I'm going to go there and have fun showing all the stuff there that I find. Okay, there's that fossilized shell in this rock. Sorry, there's that fossilized shell in that rock. Let's get that out of the way. And I can say with 100% certainty, I found this one in limestone because I knocked this piece off the wall myself. In fact, it was by an old fire pit that me and a friend had at an old campground here in the woods by my house. I'll probably show that spot one day, but I probably won't because I'll probably forget. But you can see the smoke damage on here from the fire pit we had next to this shell. And then one day I noticed this shell was sticking off the wall, and I took it out. The only part of this that was exposed is where you see this line. Only this part was sticking out, and I noticed this shell. This is the only part that was sticking out. This part was still encased in the material. So there's why there's a color separation there. And I did go out there and extract this myself. This was in limestone. Because the hills and rocks out here by Rock Creek have a lot of limestone. If you go out to the creeks more and open your eyes, you'll see a lot of it. So there's this piece I found and extracted from the very wall itself, the very limestone itself. I don't care what you want to call it or what you think it is. It's clearly there, so there's that shell. And I also found some of these other small shells walking around on trails washed out of limestone, very heavily bloated limestone areas. This part was off of some trail, somewhere off of Gregory at some hiking trail off of 435. This was one I broke out of some rocks, and it's red. Does that mean this shell was a brick once? Sorry, I'm just having a little fun there. The same with this one. Since this shell is red, was it a brick once? But of course, I'm just joshing y'all there, joking. So there's these little shells I found breaking rocks. This is the back sides of them. You'll see a lot of this texture on the limestone too. That webbing look of the shells. But a lot of these shells are usually broken in small pieces, so it's hard to see them. But take my word for it, when you see little speckled pieces like this, it's marine biology, petrified and fossilized in this material, which I've been saying is from a flood event and plasma event. Because I think the plasma struck this material and petrified it, essentially. That's what I've been saying, but people don't watch my videos apparently and don't have any context of what I'm saying. I really hope people don't think I'm supporting the narrative by talking about this stuff, because I assure you I'm not. I'm just speaking on what's self-evident. But there's this shell. It's got some sort of remains of rock or other minerals on it. I've already covered some of these in another video when I was showing the giant petrified tree pieces and petrified quartz crystal sap and stuff. But apparently no one watched that one either. But here I am showing these shells again. I didn't show these ones last time, or this one, or these. I did show this one and some other ones. But here's some pieces I broke out of some rocks. I'm not going to say limestone. More than likely is, though, because the rocks were dense and hard like Ross was experiencing at the Kansas City Workhouse. But I got these pieces of shells out. And yes, they do have crystals in them, because biology, when it gets petrified or fossilized, will form crystals. That's a fascinating little thing, isn't it? This is a shell, I promise. There's the piece that's remaining. Because sadly, when I was extracting this one, it broke, exposing this nice matrix of crystals, which in itself is a really cool piece. Let me see if I can get up on that a little bit more. Oh. Some of these have really nice crystal matrices in them. I wonder if that's a byproduct of the plasma striking the biology, doing something actually fantastical and cool that is visible to see physically, and not just grasping at straws. So there's that piece. And here's another piece I found in a bigger rock that I broke it off out of. This should have a lot more of a rough rock shape to it, but after I found it like 14 years ago, I used a hammer to beat it down into like a rough sphere. So you can even see all the little hammer marks on it. So I did round this one off, and I had planned one day to make a walking stick with this one, but as you see, I never did that. Because I used to like making walking sticks and carving and doing a bunch of that cool stuff too. But I found these at the same time, and I was, just breaking open rocks, trying to find shells. So these two were found the same day. Hence why they've both been rough shaped, as you can see. So this one's cool because it's perfectly preserved and sticking out of the rock material, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't change the fact of what it is. I mean, how the hell can people lie about the very geology of the world? That's crazy. You couldn't possibly lie about that. Yeah, you can lie about how it happened and all this, that, and the other, but you can't ignore the self-evident nature of it. They can spin it how they want, but this is a clear thing that happened and it exists. So it's kind of silly to think this is a lie right here that we're looking at. Oh, it's kind of weird to think that people honestly think that all this stuff I'm presenting is somehow a lie and it's just some spun narrative. That's a mental trap in itself. Sorry. It's not a lie if I could hold it and see it. This is physical. This is tangible. This is not a lie. None of this is a lie. It clearly exists. And it clearly exists in this form that people don't want to accept. This is a lie. They lied to us. Sorry, not everything's a lie. They lie about a lot of stuff, but they can't lie about everything. I promise. So, there's those ones. Really trying to be nice here, not going a tangent or a tirade. Just, I'm working on it. Then there's this one. I was breaking open rocks again when I found this one. This was one of the rocks I had by my fire pit at one of my old campgrounds out here in the woods across the street over, across from Rock Creek. This one has a real nice matrix of stuff, crystals. And it's a shell. It's not some weird anomalous, weird, cataclysmically formed, weird anomaly, I promise. Now, I do say the flood and plasma influenced what happened to this. This looks like something that happened instantly. Almost looks like the plasma medusa'd it and created these crystals. By reaction of the event. That's what I see. That's what I think. So no, I'm not supporting this million years of bullshit narrative or nothing like that. So I wish people would stop thinking that. Or stop trying to use that as an argument against what I'm saying. We got this big old random pocket of limestone stuff. Clearly see all the fossils and shells in here. Got this nice boy right here. Nice shell. Another various smaller shells in marine biology. Even have what looks like these look like these weird little snake worm tendril things in here. Probably the things that were living in these shells. But as they got zapped and petrified in this material, they just became, well, what you see. More of that weird tendril skin looking stuff. Right there as well. Let me see if I can't go out and zoom in on this to make it a little easier. Yeah, not really. Apologies. So yeah, I know what I'm looking at, and I know what I'm talking about enough to at least talk about it. I'm not claiming to be an expert on it, but I do have my receipts, my physical evidence, which cannot be lied about. It's physical and tangible. There's no lie here. But like I said, they can lie about how it happened all they want, because I don't believe it happened how they said, or how long the process takes. I think this was probably a near instant event that caused these to Medusa, essentially. And not like how Roger Spur goes on about it, I promise. Here's a big piece of this limestone. Now I covered this piece, but for those who didn't watch that video, I found this piece up by the Liberty Memorial, washed out of the hill. Yes, you heard me correctly. I found this big boy here, this big shell, you can't miss it, with all this other marine biology, and this limestone, washed out of the hill by the Liberty Memorial. When I saw this, I had to have it. So I picked it up and brought it home. Of course, the highlight's the big, massive shell on the front, even though there is one sticking out right here. There's that little webbing stuff I'm talking about, you'll see, that these shells will make. Let me find that piece again real quick. This here. In various different stages, you'll see the shells make this look right here. See that? It's on the shell here. So you see that weird webbing? It's not some weird anomaly that needs to be a mystery, because it's not. Like I said, I know what I'm looking at. I've been doing this for 15 years, roughly. I would consider myself an expert at spotting the stuff at this point. But there's this big shell. What the hell is this thing doing in the middle of a city? Gee, I guess this area was flooded once. That's why there's so much limestone everywhere. And not to mention, all this limestone has fossils. Yeah, it's got fossils, it's got the crystals, it's got the shells, which, last I knew, supports the piezoelectric power system. So the fact they use this materials in their structures would heavily support they're using piezoelectric for their power. So it was not a stupid choice to use this material. What do you think about that? Because all you have to do is look up piezoelectric, and a lot of the ingredients, if not all of them, are in this material. Because you got the crystals, you got the fossils and the bones, because you got these, which are considered like bones. So you got the bones, you got the crystal, and then you got the fossils. There's some 3 major ingredients for piezoelectric right there. Guess what? It's all in. The limestone, which these apparent knuckle-dragging farmers collected to build their palaces with. Gee, weird. So I don't think this is just some random filled stone. It seems very specifically picked as a choice for reasons. Let's go ahead and get back to this big piece and probably call this a done video. This shouldn't be taking this long. But yeah, this big boy here was found by the Liberty Memorial and the Union Station, which just supports the evidence which I've been saying. There was a world flood And all these shells ended up in some weird places. Hence why there's so much limestone out there in the world. It's everywhere. So I'd even wager in the areas I've not been, if people want to, go look around for these structures and just try to find the fossils and the shells. You can't miss them. And this is a special shell that was found by my father back in 1994. He found this one in the mountains between Cheyenne and Pikes Peak. He claims he was at roughly 6,500 feet above sea level. Care to explain why the fuck a shell was up there in the mountains? I'll wait for all the mental gymnastics. From those who don't believe in a world flood anyways. But, this shell was found up in the mountains. What the hell is a petrified shell doing up on these mountains? I don't believe the bullshit narrative, if any, about why this would be up there. But no. Back when my dad was serviced in the military, he was stationed at a military base out there. And him and some of his friends had some extra time on their hands, so they decided to go up in the mountains, and he looked down at some point, and he found this shell. And he kept it for all these years, and then he gave it to me. And my dad wouldn't lie to me. He's a very honest, good man. Yes, he's a little weird about his times, and his military mind is always on a time limit, or, you know, always military brain. We'll just leave it at that. But no, he wouldn't lie to me. So he found this up in the mountains, and it's petrified. Fascinating, isn't it? So there's that, further supporting the world flood. And then the plasma, which petrified this stuff after the world was flooded and the waters recessed, and then the plasma came and helped dry the place out and re-etched out the lands. So there's these. I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at that, because this didn't need to go on that long. So I hope people actually watch this and understand the contextual nature of my videos. I'm not supporting no fucking narrative here. How can I support a narrative that I don't believe in when I have the receipts? I don't need their stupid narrative to tell me what I'm looking at. It's silly and absurd. I have all the physical receipts. I do not need their stupid fucking narrative to tell me what I'm looking at. Again, you don't have to be a firefighter to know what a fucking fire is. Alright? So hope that comes off clear. And I have my physical receipts. These are not lies. If these were lies, they wouldn't exist. So there's that, and I'm going to end this video there. I hope you enjoyed.